Thank you for tuning in to the Into the Classroom series produced by Mental Health California, sponsored by Blue Shield of California's Blue Sky Initiative.
Yeah, welcome in everybody. Great to have you all here again. Hope everybody's been, well this past month. Hope you've had a blessed day so far. And I'm real excited to get back into it. As usual, my name is Michael Betlock, and I'll be the host for tonight's Pod at 7 session. And we'll be discussing youth substance use prevention. So it should be a great session for us. Yeah, I seen that, Kevin. Thanks for the reminder last month. I appreciate it, man. But yeah, quick reminders before we get into it. This is a safe and respectful space. So let's keep the chat, engaged, but let's be respectful. No cursing, no stigma, right? We're here to talk about, some tough issues sometimes. So we want to just make it a safe space to where we can all come in here, feel, vulnerable and, get some stuff out. We will have a quick survey as well as the sign in later in the program. So keep your eyes open for that. I'll also, let you guys know once we place that in the chat. And, per usual, we'll have some, some fun little games for you guys as we usually have, the trivias as you guys love. Just want to thank our sponsors real quick before we get into it. Thank you, Mental Health California and Blue Shield of California's Blue Sky Initiative for, helping us get this program out to you guys. Want to thank our mentors for being here, Tex, Patrick, Dr. Rimty. Got a great group for you guys today. And yeah, just a quick reminder as well, you guys have been added to our blog list, right? So if you want more media, more up-to-date podcasts or videos, right, that should be sent out to your email every now and then. So, you can keep a lookup for that, or you can just go to the Brother Be Well website. If you want to continue your learning, I know these pod sessions are only once a month. So if you want to continue, finding some other topics, you can always feel free to check that out too. So with that being said, I'm gonna pass it over to my man Tex to get us kicked off.
All right. What's up, everybody? My name is Tex Wambui. I'm a peer leader here with Brother Be Well. Great pleasure to be here with y'all today. So I just want to give y'all a brief overview of kind of what the Pod at 7 is. Just want to welcome y'all to the Pod at 7. This is a space where we'll talk about mental health. It's not just allowed, it's encouraged. We all know that the pressures of life, social expectations, or even just trying to deal with our emotions can lead us to to turn to substance abuse. Just to cope, to escape, or to fit in. But there's always another way, one that doesn't cost us, our health or our future. So tonight we're breaking down the myths, looking at the science, and talking about what it really means to stay in control of our choices. So we'll be sharing stories, learning from each other, engaging in some media, and finding real ways to build resilience without shame or any sort of judgment. So with that being said, welcome everybody. And I would like to pass it on to Patrick to kind of give us an introduction to the topic of today.
Thank you, Tex. Hi, everyone. My name is Patrick Ma. Again, I am a Brother Be Well clinical advisor, and today we're going to talk about youth substance use prevention. So, have you ever felt like drinking, vaping, and smoking just become like part of the norm? I definitely do because I can remember when it became such a mainstream activity, but I think social media and TV shows and TV and movie actually has a lot to do with it. Something that we will discuss at a later part of this the POTS series. And then when you see those kind of behaviors, do you ever wonder like, is it something that everyone doing just to chill out, or if like you're hanging out with your friends and it's something that you have to do in order to look like you cool and fit in with the group, or you use it as a coping mechanism because you have a lot going on. And the fact is, those just what you thought to yourself, I'm just gonna do it just once, just to try it out, or I'm just gonna drink just one, and then hopefully we'll get through whatever hardship that you're going through at the time, can sometimes lead us down to a path that we never meant to take. And tonight we're getting serious about substance use and explore what it looks like in our world, why people start, and how we can stay control in our choices. This conversation is not meant to pass judgment on any of the audience, even if you're struggling with substance use, but it's more about empowering you with information, being honest among each other so that we can take care of ourselves and our future. And with that said, let's do a quick icebreaker. In your opinions, what's your personal cost that will be involved with substance use? And is it going to be financial disaster, just falling out relationship, opportunity to certain things that you may want in life, or poor health? Go ahead and put your answer in the chat for us, and we will go over some of the answer. Yeah, Kevin, all the above is absolutely correct. I think for me, I've actually never done anything. I'm so lame. Well, not lame. I'm uncool. For people my age, back in the day when it was in my 20s, I was considered uncool because I was such a nerd. I'm cool now, and even cooler that I'm not using any substances. But back in the day, a lot of the people that I tried to hang out with because I thought they were friends of mine actually smoke marijuana. It's very common, very well accepted, well promoted, and even celebrated. You know, I actually went to Hawaii with some of my friends and they brought marijuana with them. And to be honest, like I had a puff because maybe it was a peer pressure, maybe it's a Hawaii thing. And I didn't care for it. And I always go back to my why, which is my father's an alcoholic. Do I want to get on this path? And I realized to myself that it's not something that I want to engage you, and I never done it again. But you know, people make mistakes for sure. Yeah, Eric, financial disaster and broken relationships are definitely in the mix because, you know, if you using and then you make decision that may not be wise because you are under the influence, it certainly can change the course of your relationship with your friends, with your family, with your loved ones, and health risk is definitely there. And to kind of like provide more insight into this topic, we're gonna watch a quick video, and please feel free to continue dropping your answer in the chat. But we're gonna watch a video, and this video is a study regarding marijuana and how hallucinogen use among young adults at all-time highs.
New study finds young adults using marijuana and hallucinogens hit their highest level in decades. It comes as marijuana has become increasingly legalized across the country, and millions of people are touting it as beneficial, or at the very least, a good time. ABC's Trevor Alt has more on the new numbers and the popular infused beverages trend that's also sparking some concern.
A new study shows marijuana and hallucinogen use among young adults 19 to 30 years old has increased significantly to the highest levels since the late 80s. In 2021, 43% said they'd used marijuana in the past year, up from 34% 5 years ago and 29% 10 years ago. Now more than 1 in 10 say they use marijuana every day. Recreational marijuana use is now legal for adults in 19 states and the District of Columbia. It's already a gigantic industry. $24 billion in legal sales last year, and that's expected to nearly double by 2026. Many advocates claim marijuana is as safe, if not safer, than alcohol, which is believed to contribute to tens of thousands of deaths every year. And researchers say they have seen some negative effects.
It is particularly concerning for teenagers and young adults who have developing brains that are particularly susceptible to the negative effects. Pretty much everybody who ends up having a problem with substance use started as a teenager and continued use as a young adult.
One trend growing increasingly popular, drinks made with THC, the active ingredient in marijuana. Take the brand Pabst Labs, a company selling infused beverages, marketing them as a great opportunity to experience a completely different kind of buzz without any hangover. Cannabis data company BDSA says in the 12 markets they track, sales of cannabis beverages increased 65% from 2020 to 2021. Though some doctors urge caution, saying you may not know exactly what's in the drink or how it might affect you, and that the beverages are both understudied and underregulated. And Diane, regarding teenagers using marijuana, the Cannabis Industry Organization says the best way to keep marijuana away from teens is to implement laws that allow the cannabis industry to replace the illegal markets, which do not adhere to age restrictions, to state-mandated testing, or to labeling guidelines. Diane?
All right, Trevor Ault, thanks for that. And for more on this, let's bring in medical toxicologist Dr. Stephanie Widmer and clinical psychologist Jeff Gardier. Thank you both for being here. Dr. Widmer, recreational marijuana is now legal in 19 states. What do you think about that number, and do you think that's playing a role in these statistics we're seeing among young adults?
I definitely think that it is playing a role, and like many things, it's probably multifactorial. It's probably not the only thing that's playing a role, but it's certainly, now that it is legal in many states, it's everywhere, and a lot of times it's being sold in packages that look like candy, and it's not being locked up, and it's really ubiquitous.
Jeff, we heard a lot during COVID of how difficult it was to be isolated during COVID lockdowns, that is, isolated, the impacts of that. Do you think the pandemic may have played a role in some of these numbers?
Yeah, we saw these rates rising right before the pandemic, but since the pandemic, we've seen that they've increased, especially around issues of anxiety, depression. We've seen more emergency room visits with regard to suicidal ideation. So all of these things, I think, have played a role in kids self-medicating and doing the best that they can to cope with this upside-down world from COVID-19.
Dr. Widmer, we hear both pros and cons to marijuana use and hallucinogens for that matter. Can you walk us through some of those? How do these drugs affect the body? How do they affect the brain and overall well-being?
So, it's a range. There's a variety, and it affects every person differently. They're both considered psychoactive substances, which really means that it can do anything from elevating your mood, causing euphoria, to downright impairment, really. And hallucinogens are just that. They make you hallucinate, causes altered sensorium, and, experiencing external stimuli that's not really there. It really alters judgment.
Now, Jeff, alcohol remains the most used substance among adults in this study. Both binge drinking and high-intensity drinking went up in 2021. Now there are also drinks infused with THC. Both weed and alcohol are depressants. So what happens when you mix these two things together?
Well, what we see is exactly what Dr. Widmer is saying, that there are very varying effects. And it depends, by the way, on the emotional state of the individual that's drinking it. If it's a youngster who is already depressed, well, it might depress them even more. Someone who may have issues with regard to some mania or so on, it might even increase that, or it can have the opposite effect. And that's why we really need to be careful with these infused drinks, because you don't know what will be the outcome with regard to behavior all the time.
All right. So now that we've, seen some real world stats on substance use in young adults, let's take a second, check in with our own experiences. There'll be a Menti poll dropped in the chat. Go ahead and click the Menti link. We want to hear from you. What's the hardest part about saying no to using substances? Is it pressure from everybody else, fear of judgment, needing to escape, or maybe something else entirely? As you guys continue answering those questions, I'll have Dr. Rimti or Patrick come in here just to unpack this a little bit, to kind of give us more of a clinical kind of a point of view on this. So Dr. Rimti.
Hi. So there's a lot of people saying, I'm good. I don't find it hard to say no. And that is great to hear, right? But there's also some other themes where people are saying, I don't say no because everyone else is doing it, or worrying about being judged or left out. And these two have a certain theme there, right? The theme is no, or saying no is rarely about the substance. It's about what's at stake if we say no. If you say no, will you lose your place in the friend group? If you say no, will you be judged or isolated? And this tells us that the substance abuse is not about bad choices, it's about how we survive. As young people, as adolescents grow, the one thing that they desire a lot is human connection. Because the brain is still developing, connecting with peers, connecting with people our age is a way for us to not only grow, but also have some comfort in our shared, let's say, shared struggles. But as we grow and people are kind of, what can I say, pressuring us, what do we do? That's called social conformity. So humans, when we are wired for connection and people are telling us, okay, let's do substances, it's very hard to say no, because if our social circle includes people who do this, our brain begins to normalize it. We become desensitized. We're like, okay, they're doing it, they're fine, maybe we'll be fine too. But that's probably not the case for everyone. So when we understand this, when we understand why saying no is very hard, we stop seeing substance use as a choice or a bad choice, and we have to recognize it as a survival strategy for adolescents, because it's their way of saying, I just want to be included. Not that I want to use substance, but that I want to be included.
Thank you for that perspective and insight, Dr. Rimti. From what you're saying, sometimes saying no isn't just about willpower. It's about what we're really up against: peer pressure, stress, loneliness, or boredom. So thank you for providing that clinical perspective. For all of our attendees out there, we do have a trivia we're going to drop in the chat. And just a word of advice is please post your answers to this trivia question to the main group chat, not just to the panelists or the admin team. So the first one to answer correctly to this trivia question wins a $25 gift card. So keep those responses coming. There's more where that come from. So, okay, the question is, which 2024 blockbuster stars Zendaya as a tennis player caught in a messy love triangle? Oh, this is a good question, actually. I'll guess the Challengers, maybe. See who won that trivia. Okay, we have a winner, Aaliyah Palmer. Congrats on winning the trivia question. Thank you to everybody for participating in that session, and thank you, Dr. Rimti. The next part of our session today, I'm gonna pass it on to Michael to kind of guide us in the video y'all will be watching. So thank you all.
Thanks, Tex. Yeah, so we got a video for you guys now, which is titled Part 1 of Youth Substance Use Prevention. And after that, Patrick will lead us in a conversation about it.
And, I'd actually like to ask everyone on the call, just by a show of hands, if you yourself have been affected by, exposed to, or even perhaps engaged in substance use. All right. Well, I see everyone's hands have raised. So I want to tell you that you're not alone. And I know that I'm not alone either. And there's a reason for that. But let's go ahead and get into our slide presentation. And we'll go ahead and look to gain critical knowledge for thriving in today's world when we're talking about youth substance use and prevention. So let's go ahead and go into our next slide. So as we know, youth substance use can have severe consequences in physical and mental well-being of our students, and it can also hinder their academic performance and overall development. These impacts can both be short-term as well as long-term, and they can range from impaired judgment, risky behaviors, which can lead to accidents and injuries, and they can even include addiction, mental health disorders, as well as a host of other problems. Going on to our next slide. And according to the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration, 60% of college students are engaged in binge drinking, and 20% have used illicit drugs in the past month. And this is particularly important given that young people's brains are still in their developmental stage, something that Christian just mentioned earlier, as well as being, susceptible to peer influence. That's something that's a really big deal, and we want to get more information on some of that as well. So let's go into our next slide. Now, according to the National Institute on Drug Abuse, in year 2020, 35% of students reported using alcohol, 21% reported using marijuana, and 3% reported using drugs other than marijuana. Let's go ahead and go into our next slide. Now, when it comes to ethnicity and substance use, the CDC has stated that Native American and Alaska Native youth have the highest rates of substance use, followed by white, Latinx or Hispanic, then African American, and then Asian American youth. So it is clear that these disparities indicate a true need for culturally sensitive prevention efforts to address specific needs for each specific community. So when we talk about some of these factors that contribute, to youth substance, and we can go on to the next slide. When we talk about these factors, we understand that mental health definitely plays a significant role. So I'd like to ask you, Christian, if you can talk to us about how mental health plays a role in substance use amongst young people.
Well, the number one way it plays a role is when you're looking at addiction, because what happens is once a person becomes addicted to a substance, first let me go back. There's a difference between being dependent and there being an addiction. There's two different definitions. Just picture dependency as like a more milder version of addiction, where it may change a few things in your life, but not significant. An addiction is when basically you can't go without it. So your body may crave it. You may have withdrawals, things of that sort. So I wanted to make that distinguish between those two, because there's a dependence where you like it, but you kind of rely on it, but you can quit if you wanted to. Then there's an addiction component where you have to have it. Your whole life is dependent around it. You're looking for it. You're thinking about what's coming the next. So those are connections between the two. And also want to make the connection between some folks are exposed to alcohol without their consent at an early age, which contributes to addiction. For example, fetal alcohol syndrome that happens in the womb. So if a mother is drinking during pregnancy, that child could, not every time, but that child could develop fetal alcohol syndrome. Those are some other things to look up in terms of doing some more research in that area.
Wow, thank you very much for that, Christian. Let's go ahead and go on into our next slide. So another element that has been identified to show a contribution to substance use among youth are their traumatic experiences, such as physical and emotional abuse, neglect, and even witnessing violence. Substance use has also been shown to serve as a coping mechanism to numb the pain or even escape from some of these circumstances or some of these memories. I'd like to open it up to some of our young folks and just kind of talk to each of you, if you can maybe elaborate on why a young person might resort to using substances. And I'll kick it off to you first, Joel.
Speaking from my own experience, I've had some trauma experiences in the past where I was, taken away from my family and placed in the foster care system. When I was in a couple of those foster homes or group homes, I seen a lot of youth my age or younger around me using substances. I noticed that the reason why they were using these substances is because of, their past trauma, maybe getting taken away from their family, or maybe learning these negative behaviors from people they were around. It definitely served as something that people were, trying to either numb their pain or forget about the past, and overall just suppress those emotions that they have never spoken about and have been difficult for. So when yeah, so when I was in those type of predicaments, I was definitely exposed to that. And I did try marijuana. I did smoke marijuana at some point when I was younger in high school. But I learned that, that wasn't really something for me. And it didn't help or value anything in my life. So I stopped doing that.
Just want to kind of open it up. If, either you, Keyshawn, or Monica wanted to chime in or reflect on what you've heard, or and I'll go ahead and pick on you, Keyshawn. If you've got any feedback or any thoughts around, young folks using substances to cope or to escape.
Yeah, I would add, first of all, I agree with everything that Joel said. It's people having issues with their trauma and trying to find a way to cope with it, but it's in a negative way. I would add on top of that is sometimes it's youth curiosity and experimenting with life. And I would say we could do a better job of educating our youth outside of just saying, hey, this is bad, you shouldn't do that, and telling them exactly how it affects their brains and exactly why they wouldn't want to do that because of the long-term effects of it. And I would say, like I said, most of the people that I would know, a lot of it was just experimentation, and they might not have done it if they had heard about something other than just, hey, don't do that.
Yeah, no, thanks for that. And Monica, do you have anything that you might want to add to the conversation, or any thoughts on that?
Yeah, of course. So I think the reason why the youth might be overdoing like abusing the substances is because of easy access to sometimes. Like I grew up in a predominantly Black and brown community, and it was just popular. Like at every party, there was always alcohol, even if it was a child's party. So it's just easily accessible. The grown-ups are not always paying attention to the substances that are being left around. And kids, teenagers, I know I've had cousins, they just easily swipe it. They may take it to school the next day, and it's just like out of curiosity, like, hey, do you want a sip? Do you want a sip? And it's just like that little curiosity that could lead to an addiction after that.
So now we've talked a little bit about substances, and we know that alcohol is actually the most widely used substance among youth, given that it's socially accepted and it's relatively easy access. But we'd like to think about some of the other substances that young folks are using. And I'd like to just round robin and ask each of our young folks if you can maybe call out a substance that folks are engaging in today. And I'll start with you, Monica.
Well, we've been hearing about fentanyl just running around the streets freely, and everyone having more access to it now than they did back then.
Yes, fentanyl is definitely a huge issue. How about you, Keyshawn?
I would say back when I was in high school and the first couple years of college, there was a lot of Xanax running around, and it was making people like zombies and making them make a lot of bad choices.
Mm-hmm. Okay, very good. And what about you, Joel?
I would definitely say like Adderall and marijuana. Those are some of the things that I've seen other youth use either in high school or college. Marijuana is more of a socially accepted substance, and Adderall is something that I guess helps you focus. I've never tried Adderall or anything, so that's just what I've heard. And yeah.
All right, that's quite an informative webinar for you to watch. There's a lot of information on there, but I do want to come on and remind everyone that why recreational use of marijuana is legal in California, driving under the influence is not. So if you have a DUI, it will definitely derail your life more than you can ever imagine. So imagine anything that you want in your life really, really badly, and imagine not getting it because you have a DUI. That's exactly what's going to happen. Doesn't mean that it's the end all be all, but I just want to remind you of that. And now we've seen that video, we're gonna go into a little bit of a discussions about the way alcohol and drugs show up in music, movies, and social media. I know for a certain when I've seen, watch like a TV show and then there's an ad coming on, and if it's a really good ad, a lot of time I would think to myself like, oh, that looks kind of good. I wonder how it tastes, or it will be like useful in my life. And then sometimes I buy it because I see the ad, and I didn't even know that exists until the ad show me. So in psychology, there's something called power up suggestions. Um, Especially a lot of ads these days use celebrity, right? So these are considered authoritative figure where a lot of people are looking up to them or have admirations for them. So when your hero or heroine is using a product, a lot of time you kind of persuaded to try it out because, well, if Michael Jordan's or I can't remember celebrity names right now because it's late. If the celebrity A or B or Kim Kardashian is like using this, it cannot be that bad, right? She's famous, she's rich. So let me try that too. So, Dr. Rimti, in a minute or less, can you talk to us about why power suggestions work on our youth?
Yeah, definitely. And what you're talking about is also very similar to social learning theory, where adolescents learn from observing others. The reason it works is because they're modeling this behavior. And in adolescence, the part of our brain, the prefrontal cortex, that helps us to apply logic, to regulate impulse, to pause before thinking, wait, do I really need Kim Kardashian's diet supplements? Does not work as well as it should because it is still developing. But our emotion, our limbic system, our emotions are fully online. So that's why whenever someone is modeling a behavior for us, our brain begins to think, okay, maybe this is positive, maybe we'll like it. And that's how we are kind of mimicking the behaviors of substance abuse we see in music or in media or in social media, wherever it is.
Yeah, thank you so much. I can't agree more. And just the way the TV show and movies are making substances become such like a cool behavior that cool people do, it's influenced our youth in a way that is not possibly impacting them. I and then even just like in my personal life, like I've have talked to people, and when I told them that I'm kind of semi sober, where I could drink if I want to, but I chose not to, I get like a weird look. And then there's a lot of awkwardness regarding like why I chose not to drink or not to smoke or not to vape. So I think definitely can be something that we can continue to explore and then maybe promote new material and content that is positive, like Brother Be Well. And now I am going to pass it on to we're gonna do the next poll. So before we do the poll, the attendees at home, if you don't mind doing the Blue Shoe survey, that would be great. I'm gonna drop the Blue Shoe survey in the chat for you guys. Please fill it out because that is how our program get funded and be able to keep these sessions going for you guys. Go ahead and click on that link for us, please, and then fill that out as we continue our discussion. And then, yeah, Geisha, I agree. It causes people to be influenced for sure. We'll give everyone about 30 seconds or so just to click on the link, and then you can keep the link open so that you can finish the survey. But we are heading into our poll number 2 pretty soon. And give everyone 10 more seconds to click on that Blue Shoe survey. And now we're going to move on to the trivia questions. We're going to be dropped in the chat. The first to respond correctly get a $25 gift card. So if you blink, you're going to lose.
Make sure you submit your response to everyone.
There you go. Fast. Hey. I will let our P leader decide who's a winner because I have no idea.
I have no idea either. We're going to have a winner soon, though.
Oh, there we go. Amina Parker, congratulations. Good for you. You want to share the gift card? I mean, I wouldn't be mad. All right. So hopefully you guys have had a chance to click onto the Blue Seal survey. And now we're gonna go into our poll number 2. So our poll number 2 is, what is the most effective way to prevent youth substance use? We're gonna drop that poll in the link for you, and then go ahead and drop your answer. Click your answer, and we're gonna talk about it briefly. Okay. So, and 100% more real conversation about the risk. Do we only have one answer? Oh, there we go. It's coming in. I was like, yeah, real conversation. That is exactly what we do in this session. So the answers are conversation about the risk, stronger family and community support, better activity and spaces for the youth, more prevention, advertising in youth-friendly spaces. Yeah, that's a good one. And then tighter laws and policy restricting access to substance use. Yeah. So I think a majority of you like the answer about real conversation about the risk. I think that's absolutely right. And not just like, not talk about it in a way of like, abstinence is the best, because we all know the sex ed in high school did not work. People still have sex, right? So abstinence do not work. Rather, it's talking about the risk associated with substance use and how it can affect your brain, how it can affect your life. I think that's a better way to spend these resources. When it comes to like stronger family and community support, same thing. We talk about social learning theory, like Dr. Rimti mentioned. When you see your families doing it and you're like, oh, that's not a big deal. Like if my dad, my uncle, my aunt, whomever in your family is using, you can also drink, you can also smoke pot. It's okay. Just because someone else is doing it doesn't mean you have to, right? It's a little bit like harsh example, but I always like explain this to my patient when I really want to get it to like in their head. So I would tell them, imagine you standing in front of a cliff. If all of your friends is jumping off the cliff without a life vest, will you jump off the cliff without a life vest? The answer will be, heck no, right? Because just because everybody else is doing it doesn't mean it's the right thing to do. You have to stand in your own ground. We talk about, you know, one of the answers is better activities and spaces for the youth. Those can be great place. You can replace those activities with something more positive instead of using substance. Advertising in youth-friendly spaces. I'm not sure about tighter law and policy because, you know, people will find a way. The same thing with sex ads and sex. But I think it certainly can be a factor to prevent substance use. And now, thank you for participating. We're gonna pass it on to Michael and introducing our next video.
Thank you for all that, Patrick, for leading everything. I really appreciate it. Like Patrick said, we're gonna go into our next video now, which is titled Fentanyl Overdose Survivor Shares Her Story.
What is the address of the emergency?
Please come now. My daughter's unconscious.
It's the sound of sheer panic.
How old is she?
16. Sophia! Sophia! She's on her back. Please hurry.
Got them on the way.
It was a quiet afternoon near Boulder, Colorado, when Ryan Christoph finds his then 16-year-old daughter, Sophia, barely breathing.
I'm pushing on her chest and it's making some noise, but she's unconscious.
Okay,
and
is she laying flat on her back?
Blue. She's on her back on her bed.
Listen carefully and I'm going to tell you how to do chest compressions.
Within minutes, Sergeant David Cohen with the Lafayette, Colorado Police Department pulls up.
I'm going to count with you, okay? So try and go with the pace I'm counting, okay? Keep up with that pace if you can, okay?
I'm responding with an AED.
Hold on, I think it might be, hold on. Up here, up here!
Upstairs?
Cohen sprinting up the stairs and into Sophia's bedroom.
What is her name?
Sophia.
Let me take over CPR. Sir, does she use narcotics?
Sophia's father telling him he doesn't think so. He only knows of her smoking a little weed. But Officer Cohen's experience told him otherwise.
Lincoln 21, slight pulse and Narcan administered.
As the approaching ambulance gets closer, the Narcan kicks in.
She's breathing? She's breathing, yes, sir.
Sophia had taken a Percocet that came from a drug dealer, not knowing it was laced with fentanyl, a synthetic opioid used to treat severe pain that is 50 times more powerful than heroin.
I'm bored in my room, and I notice, I have half this pill. Why not? Like, it'll make me cheer up. And I crushed it up, took a line, felt kind of sparkly for 2 seconds, and then I woke up in the hospital.
Where do you think you would be now had you not overdosed?
I think I could have been in a worse spiral, or as far as I know, I could have been dead. I could have been struggling, but I think that I'm grateful for it.
From coast to coast in every corner of the U.S., deaths from fentanyl overdoses are soaring. More than 100,000 people died from drug overdoses in a 12-month period ending in October of 2021. Recent CDC data revealing 2/3 of those deaths are linked to fentanyl, and those deaths doubling over the past 2 years.
There's no question in my mind that the vast majority of chemicals are coming from China and going to Mexico and being mass produced into fentanyl, into methamphetamine, and increasingly into the counterfeit pills that we see on our streets.
And fentanyl is sometimes mixed in other illicit drugs, heroin, meth, and cocaine. It's a cheap, higher high, but also can be a lethal combination.
A tense scene in Wilton Manors. Multiple spring breakers overdosing, rushed to the hospital. The culprit, first responders say, drugs laced with fentanyl.
When I found out that he was doing fentanyl, every day I didn't know, if I was going to get that call.
He was living life loving it. It's heavy. It's heavy right now.
Users often have no idea.
She supposedly had taken a Percocet, and that Percocet later, was laced with fentanyl. And that took her life.
This is an epidemic that's been hidden by the pandemic, and we need more attention paid to this issue.
After everything Sophia Kristoff and her dad have been through, playing softball together is familiar and comfortable.
That was awesome.
A reminder of a simpler time. Now in her junior year, Sophia looks forward to taking the field with her team next season.
She loves going to games and she loves playing. I do too, and it's good. It's really grateful that we've been able to have that to bond over and spend time together.
But through her sophomore year, Sophia was hiding a secret from her father.
What did your dad know about what was going on?
He knew I was smoking weed sometimes.
So he had no idea.
And I think part of that is because it all happened so fast.
In the span of just 1 year, she started experimenting with a long list of drugs. She was suspended from school, and her grades fell.
Cocaine, Xanax, ketamine ones, acid, shrooms, Adderall.
So
just
pill in the
pills.
pill.
Yeah, just like everything I could get my hands on.
I felt stupid that I should have known, especially with my own history. And it's not like I think, oh, she's terrible because she did those things, or my girl would never do that. I just didn't think she was doing that.
And these are all plugs that I've bought from before.
Sophia says buying drugs is as easy as sending the right emoji to a so-called plug, a dealer who finds customers on apps like Snapchat.
I'm looking for a little plug emoji or like a fire emoji or just whatever emoji the normal dealers I have. They're like, yo, hit my line for gas. And then you're like, yo, you got whatever, like slang terms for whatever.
And it can happen that fast, just by communicating on Snapchat and by searching with the right emoji.
If you know where to go, it's really easy.
It's a terrifying new playbook for drug dealing. Now so common, the U.S. Drug Enforcement Agency releasing this cheat sheet for parents and guardians, showing the emojis commonly used to buy drugs on social media.
I cannot emphasize enough how deadly this drug is to human life, especially to unsuspecting youth in our community. These pills are widely available and are often sold for dollars a piece on social media.
And pictures showcasing how counterfeit pills they've seized from drug dealers look eerily similar to the real medications doctors prescribe. Just days ago, Snapchat issuing a statement detailing their efforts to flush out drug-related content and announcing steps to curb illegal activity, saying they have zero tolerance for the promoting of illegal drugs on their platform. 20 miles south of Lafayette, Denver, Colorado Police Chief Paul Pazin feels like he's at war.
I get daily reports of suspected individuals who have passed away as a result of fentanyl overdoses.
Every day you're hearing of deaths.
That's somebody's family that has just been devastated by fentanyl, by this very deadly drug. We have a situation where a father lost 2 sons on the exact same day from a fentanyl overdose.
The ripple effect, cannot be denied of what happens, especially when we have kids dying at school, passing out in the bathrooms. What are you seeing as the biggest problem when it comes to the actual ingestion of fentanyl?
Folks think that this might be something else that they're ingesting. So bringing awareness to this issue that that pill may not be Percocet, that pill may not be Xanax, that pill may contain fentanyl and potentially could be deadly is critical. It's so cheap, it's so easy to move, it's so addictive for the end user. We are going to need everybody coming together as a country, as a state, federal, state, local law enforcement.
Colorado's House of Representatives introducing a bill last month to enact stiffer criminal penalties on those involved with the sale and distribution of fentanyl.
Is there an end in sight?
I'm not seeing that end. I'm seeing this issue getting worse. I'm seeing more and more people dying as a result of this issue. We need to do something about this immediately.
Officers, like Sergeant David Cohen, are on the front lines day after day. And this time, he saved Sophia from becoming yet another statistic.
When did it become clear to you that it was an overdose?
I don't know if it ever became clear to me until I administered Narcan and it worked. Between training and experience and being able to look around the room and seeing miscellaneous drug paraphernalia that goes a little bit above and beyond normal marijuana and alcohol use.
And so because of that, you knew to administer the Narcan?
Yes, ma'am. If it's not needed and you use it, it's gonna do no harm.
Right.
If it's needed and you use it, it's only gonna do good.
These kids are dying for one bad decision. And it almost happened to her. It's a hard time to be a parent of a teenager and even harder to be a teenager.
With thousands of lives cut short by tainted drugs, Sophia is one of the lucky ones. But she still bears the weight of her brush with death.
That's been a very big part. Like the guilt that comes with I see firsthand the effects it had on everybody. Being here thinking like, damn, all these kids are out here overdosing and never coming back. And I'm the one that came back. Like, why me? So I'm just trying to have the mindset that I'm here and I was a lucky one and I gotta make it worth it.
This is what's in the box. There's 2 of these.
Her father, Ryan, now on a mission to educate teens and parents on the dangers of dabbling in drug use.
If someone were to watch this video, what do you want them to know and what do you want them to take away from it?
First of all, I want them to know more about Sophia than just this video. And that's a moment in her life, but that's not who she is. I would want people to see that it can happen to even someone like Sophia, even their daughter, even their son, even people you think was the least likely to happen to. It can happen.
That was a very, very intense video. Now we're gonna slow things down a little bit just and get a little reflective. We're gonna do a Google Doc Jam. It will be placed in the chat in the Google Doc Jam. It's gonna ask you guys a question. So think about a time when someone tried to get you to drink, smoke, or use something, but deep down you didn't want to do it. Maybe it was like a party, maybe it was someone you looked up to, or maybe it was just one of those random moments. How did you handle it? And if you could do it over, what would you do differently? And as the answers keep coming in, I'd like to bring in Patrick or Dr. Rimty in here to kind of just expand on this topic, understanding pressure and using prevention. Dr. Rimty, what would be your thoughts on this?
Yeah, definitely. Um, it's something you said before, right? It's not about willpower. The ability to say no in this situation is not just about willpower. It's also about your identity, your environment, and how pressure feels like in your body. Because in most of the cases, peer pressure leads to stress, and that stress can actually feel so much similar to physical pain. So when someone is offering you a drink, a vape, or something to smoke and you don't want it, and some of the people are saying, I said no, but sometimes people are afraid to say no. And when you are, then your body is going into a stress response. Heart rate increases, the stomach tightens. You may feel hot, you may feel nervous, you may feel disconnected. And that's your brain and body literally reacting to a social threat, right? And when we say no, we feel like other people are going to reject us, right? And it registers in the same way as I said, it feels like pain, it feels like you're physically hurting. So that's why it's very important to be very firm and say no directly, as some of the people in the Google Doc Jam are saying. However, being able to say no clearly and directly, while that's very amazing, it's also only possible because of an environment given to you that made it safe to say no. So a lot of people around us don't have that environment or didn't grow up in an environment where we were freely able to say no. We weren't given the space. Our brain didn't think that we could say no. And if you are someone who came from those situations, those type of home environment, I just want to let you know that this is a space where it's going to be supportive for you, where you can learn to say no, where you can learn that, the issue isn't just you or your willpower. It's whether you have a supportive environment around you to say no directly and clearly.
Thank you, Dr. MT. It's really great insight. It actually makes me think about, for me, it's more about not wanting to disappoint people, but over time, I realized that saying no is actually me respecting myself. One of the responses actually in the Google Doc Jam that really stood out to me is the one that just says, I just told them my religious beliefs and stuck to that ever since. If I lose friends, they never value my belief system nor me to begin with. I think that's something I just learned today, in terms of kind of setting a boundary. It's something that people should always respect, is if they're not respecting, your boundaries and beliefs, then maybe it's not the type of environment you want to be in. So thank you to everybody who's adding their thoughts. Keep continuing adding your thoughts into there, to the Google Doc Jam. And we're going to transition to the next part of the session before we close here today. I think Michael has a surprise for you guys, and I'll pass it on to you, Michael.
Thank you, Tex. I appreciate that. Yeah, we got one more trivia question for you guys. So let's go ahead and get the trivia question placed in the chat, please. Be ready. Here it is. That's insane. I've seen like 4 answers pop up at the same time. Which comic book publisher is famous for Batman and Wonder Woman? I know that was easy, Tex. So we'll go ahead and get the winner in there in a second. Yep, there we go. We got our winner. Thank you guys for participating in that. Congrats to all the winners tonight. Hope you guys are, leaving a little bit happier today with your extra stipend. With that being said as well, we're going to go ahead and get the sign in the chat. So remember to sign in. This is how you guys get your stipends. So we'll go ahead and get the sign in the chat. There we go. Everybody sign in. We got a couple of minutes. So make sure that you get that in before we leave the session, because it will not be available after you guys leave. But yeah, I just wanted to say a couple of words before we leave. But when it comes to these substances, I just want to say, think of what it would be like if your mom found you like that, or if your dad, whoever it is you love the most, and just try to put that at the front of your mind when you're thinking of, trying these different things, or trying, one of these drugs, or following with what your friends are doing, and just take a second and think like, is it really worth it? What you're doing, do you really want to take that risk? Because we just seen that video of the young lady did not know that there was fentanyl in it. And if the officer didn't get there in time, who knows what would have happened, right? She was very lucky. And there's plenty of people, like they say, every day who aren't lucky. They make the mistake of trying something and, trying to be cool, right? Wanting to experiment with something, wanting to chase a high, a different feeling they've never had. But I just want you all to try to keep that at the forefront of your mind and just meditate on that, right? If you're really finding yourself in a struggle of thinking and, sitting in on this, like, do I really want to take this? Do I not? Just think about that. We also have an addiction specialist at Brother Be Well. His name is Roland Williams. And one of the things he always says is we have these phones right here, right? It takes you 5 minutes to pick it up and search what you're trying to experiment with. Do some research on it, right? Look at the pros, look at the cons, look at the statistics behind it. Again, that's another way for you to preference it and say, is this really worth it? Do I really want to try this? I think if you guys, do those 2 steps, it'll be real fruitful for you guys. And I also want you to pass that on to people, right? The younger students who are in here, maybe got younger brothers and sisters, right? It's up to us to inform them. We can't control their actions, but as an older sibling, as an older cousin, whatever it may be, it's up to us to at least get that information out to them. So I just wanted to share that all with you guys. We are right about at time. So I just want to thank you guys all so much for showing up tonight. I hope you took something away from tonight. I hope you guys, learned something, and I hope you pass it on to somebody else. Like I said, that's the main thing that we want, is for you guys to share this, right? We come on here, try to give you guys the information, and it's up to you guys to, get that out to your people. Like I say, each month, that's really the main important thing. Next month, we'll be discussing bullying. So it should be another great session. But for tonight, that'll be it. I hope you guys have a beautiful night, and we'll see you guys next month on September 3rd. We'll see you guys.